Now I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come, and I believe it could be something good has begun. Oh, I've been smiling lately.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 of the Game Plan Online. My name is Nick Dillon, this is Paul Mitchell, and our special guest today is Loxton A-grade coach Grant Fisher. Welcome aboard, Fish.
Thank you.
Fish, good to have you here.
Excellent. And the Loxton at the moment, mate, absolutely travelling fantastic at the moment. Top of the ladder, you couldn't be happier, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we are going reasonably well at the moment. Still got a bit of a way to go with injuries. We've got a few injuries this week, which I'll enlighten you on a bit later. But no, travelling well at the moment after a pretty poor start with the first 2 rounds. But really pleased at the moment.
It's probably always going to take a little while for the team to gel though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was always going to be a bit like that with so many players travelling from Adelaide locals and a couple of imports to get to know each other. So we knew it was going to be a bit hard, but probably to come together after week 3 was pretty good. I was expecting probably the whole first round it would take, so I'm really wrapped where we are at the moment.
For sure.
Just obviously this is your second year in charge. Chalk and cheese from last year to this season. Was there ever any time when you thought at the end of last year, I know you said you were going to do it for as a long-term project. Ever any time when you thought, gee, what have I got myself into here?
Yeah, certainly was, Paul. I thought that it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be that tough, but certainly from a local level, we worked out pretty quickly, 2/3 of the way through the year, that we needed to make sure we got a couple more quality midfielders and players bought in from outside, and unfortunately that's the way of the game at the moment. I don't necessarily agree with it entirely, and I don't think it's sustainable long term.
Yeah.
But it's certainly what you need to do as a club to push yourself forward. But also I think recruiting the local lads has certainly strengthened our squad, and it's put a lot more pressure on blokes to get to training and make a bit more of an effort, whereas 2014 it was you basically got a game because we had that many injuries, and and it was really difficult to manage the team with the personnel we had and the injuries we had during the year.
Yeah. I'm just going to run through some of the names that you have brought in, and a lot of them, like you say, are actual Loxton people that have come back to the club, which is great. So you got Reece Mitchell who's come back in, which is great. Nathan Peterson-Gray obviously in the midfield. Ben Gordon, the big full forward. John Fisher, Raph Little, Jason Turner, Joel Brown. It's a great quality list of ins. How confident are you that they'll hang around next year? Because that's the most important thing for recruiting, isn't it? That it's making sure it's long term.
Well, certainly on the local front, we would hope that those local boys, my lad Peter Fisher, Braden Kurtz, and those guys, hopefully if we have some success, what that success is I'm not sure, but if we have some success at obviously playing finals and doing well in the finals, I'm sure those local boys will be keen to come back again, and they've enjoyed their footy so far. And the recruits have been fantastic as far as mixing in with the club, and I think they'll be keen to come up. It's a big commitment to travel that far, but I'm sure that if we have some ultimate success, I'm sure those guys will be coming back again next year. Would be really good.
For sure.
Just tell us a bit about Ben Gordon, the big forward. He's got a bit of a cult following already up here.
Yeah, he's a very down to earth lad, and as much as full forwards go, very team orientated. Very much plays a team game. Kicks goals himself, but certainly gives off, and certainly if he's out of position, his first option will be to get it to a crummer or put it in the best position for a crummer. So, and very smart footballer as well. So positions himself really well, protects the drop zone really well. Probably his kicking has been the thing that's probably let him down a bit. Runs a bit on an arc, which is a bit of a worry. Runs a bit like Buddy
Franklin,
bit of a Buddy Franklin, but on the right hand side, and that in combination with the wind and so forth does play a few tricks on him. So he hasn't had a day other than Renmark where he's kicked lots of goals and not many points. I think most times he's kicked 8 goals, 4 or 5 or 6, and
Lots of
I
shots.
think one day when he really clicks, we're going to see him kick. He could kick 15, I reckon. He's that good at getting the ball, and with our midfield playing well, he could get 15 goals, I reckon, in a game.
Wow.
Quite easily.
And good to see him wearing the black boots as well, mate. A bit of a throwback to the 80s and the 70s.
Yes, he's there's a bit of a shock there. I'm not sure what's going to happen this week because he actually, one of the right boot got trodden on in the last game and split, so he was absolutely devastated. End of the game, he was just about in tears at his old leather boots, his black leather boots, and I said, well, maybe you're going to have to get them sewn up. So I'm not sure what he's done. So
he might just go
interesting Saturday to see what he wears.
He might go with what all the young blokes are wearing these days, with the fluoro yellows and oranges and pinks.
So he might get into that, but no, he's pretty fond of his old black boots, so that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Very good. Obviously, it's been a pretty tough month or so. With Leanne Smith's passing and Ryan's injury as well. How has that affected the playing group? Has that galvanised them together a little bit?
I think it certainly has. Certainly the teams pulled together and supported the Smiths, but also I've tried to sort of not play it up too much, but certainly it's been mentioned. We've both games since the accident. We've had number 14 Guernsey up there, which Ryan wears, and boys have shown a bit of concern for that, and made sure we show some loyalty to that. And I think it's been a motivating factor for the last couple of games. So hopefully it will continue. But hopefully his injuries are main injury is to his right hand, and hopefully that'll come good. But we may see him play the end of this year. We may not, but certainly be welcome back around the club, and he'll certainly be amongst the boys running water or doing his job, I reckon, when he gets back.
And what about Gough? Will he return?
Hopefully Steve will be able to get back into action sooner than later. Not really haven't talked much to him this week, but certainly we'll get an opportunity later in the week to discuss when he plans to come back. But we've had Grant Darlitz has been fantastic and just stepped into the void and helped out so much though that he had to play in the last game because we were short. But yeah, he's been very good.
Yeah, that's good.
Competition's been really interesting this season, even the last round when we had Renmark knock off Wakery. How have you seen it? What's the best team you've come up against so far? It just seems like anybody can beat anybody on a given day.
Yeah, I still think the competition is very even. I don't think any teams miles better than any other team. I think all teams, like you just said, can beat anybody on any given day. And I think it's really going to come down to people's management of players and who's available at the right time of the year. I think possibly Renmark, a bit like us last year, they're gonna struggle perhaps to make the four from their position at the moment. But potentially, if they get their players back like they did last week against Wakery and played some good footy, they could win some games and make the four. So it's I look at it. Us and Berry are top on 5 wins, but we're only 3 wins away from second to bottom, so we're really not that far ahead. And certainly all the teams have been very good against us. We've probably played a little bit better in the second halves of the game. I think our team fitness, due to Michael Gutschke's been really, really good, and we've run over teams a bit in the last half of the game. So the scores have probably not been a true indication of what the games have been like, other than the last bit, I reckon.
Yeah, fair enough. That's pretty handy though to have up your sleeve that last quarter, just a bit of a surge there at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, well, again, the last game against Loxton North, we were only 20 odd points up, I reckon, at 3/4 time, and I think we kicked 7-1 to 1 point in the last quarter. So it's a bit of a false indication of exactly what the game was like up until that stage.
Sure.
Fish, now, do you want to go into the games?
No, that's all right.
I've just got a real quick one. You've been at Loxton High School for a long time.
I have.
What can you tell us about, is there still that rivalry between the Loxton boys and the Loxton North boys at high school? Because by the time kids get to 16 or 17, increasingly in RFL we see them playing A-grade footy and being some really good players.
Yep.
So how intense is that rivalry there?
It is intense when obviously when the teams play on the Saturday, but certainly you wouldn't know that in the town and at school during the week, because a lot of the kids play volleyball together, they play other sports together, basketball and that sort of stuff, cricket in the same teams. I have half the Loxton North A-grade team at my place for tea on Friday nights with my son. So it's the rivalry's not super intense, I don't think, like it used to be as far as the players go. except for actually on the Saturday. And I think then once the game's finished, it's pretty cruisy after that. Blokes work with each other and mates with each other. They like to win and put the other team down a bit, but I think once the game's been played, it's pretty good.
That's good. Okay, so we'll quickly go through Saturday's game. The first one we'll do is Fisher's team up, Loxton up against Wakery. Now we'll quickly go through Wakery's ins, and it's a star-studded list at the moment. Unfortunately for Fish, it's so far they've got coming in 2 Willis medalists in Tim Bevan and Michael Bratton, Jared Byrne, Justin Delazoppa, Amos Franks back in, Tristan Gaiman and Aaron Thompson are in at this stage, no out. So Wakery finally starting to get some of those players back in. It's been a little while coming. And Fish, can you tell us a bit about Loxton's ins and outs this week?
Yeah, we've obviously a big out is Reece Mitchell. He's with work commitments in Darwin, so he's back up there. So he'll be sorely missed in the midfield. But we do gain Raph Little back from his little trip to Queensland on Elders business. So he'll be a sort of a replacement for him. We're a bit doubtful on Ash Monty at the moment, so that's going to hurt us in the ruck. So. And Tom Tahini and Zach Kirk are also unavailable through one through Westies and one through work. So so we'll be a bit underdone again, but we'll hopefully be very competitive.
For sure, that's excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about Wakery when you played them the first time?
The first time we played them at Wakery, they were again the game was very tight for most of the game, and we only ended up winning by 23 or 28 points or something. So there wasn't really much in it. We'd obviously come off 2 losses, and it was an important game for us. And the boys had a pretty hard week on the track, so they did pretty well. We'll go into this game obviously a lot more confident, but very wary that they have some terrific players back in.
Definitely.
And so it will be a very tricky game.
Yeah, excellent. Obviously, you're tipping Loxton. Mitch, who are you backing in this one, mate?
Well, I don't know. Look, I'll probably just stick with Loxton. Narrowly.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Loxton, but I think it's going to take a little time for those guys to settle back in. But Tim Bevan coming back in is huge, in particular for Wakery. I think he's missed quite a few games now. So, run us through the next one, Mitch. Okay,
we've got another really interesting game. We've got Berry and Loxton North. Loxton North ins from Jared Cranmere, Tyler Oxlade and Michael Scott. And outs we've got Justin Proud, James Searles and Brogan Whitelaw. And for Berry, we're not sure. Lefty's had a busy week, so we haven't been able to get onto the lefty yet. But Berry have had a few out in the last few weeks as well, haven't they? So
a couple of ins and outs, and just haven't been able to quite sell their side like they did in the first 5 weeks.
So this will be a really interesting game, and will give us a handle on where both teams are at, I would think.
I think certainly Berry unfortunately probably lack a bit of depth with their B grade. They don't, and they've been found out probably against us. They had a few out, and obviously the last week against Barnwell they had quite a few out of their A grade. So dropping 3 or 4 or 5 players out of their core 21 or 2 makes them very vulnerable. But I'm not sure what they'll get back in. But they will continue probably to struggle if they have to have those 4 or 5 blokes out all the time. So, and Lockie North are a pretty solid side throughout. I think they'll be pretty peeved that the neighbours beat them in the last game, and they'll be out to atone for that and try and stay in touch with the top 2.
Definitely. So picking Loxton North?
I think probably Loxton North.
Yeah, Mitch.
Look, I saw Berry the last game, and they looked good for parts of the game, and just couldn't quite go with the young Barmera legs, I thought, in the last quarter. So they're not far away from that form early in the season, but I think I'll go with Loxton North as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Berry. I'm hoping, well not hoping, but I'm just presuming that they will get a couple back in this week, and if they do, then they might just get over the line at home, I think, in that one. Third of the Riverland games is Redmark versus Barmera Monash, and we'll just quickly smash through these ones. Big ins for Redmark this week. Finally, the wheels started to turn. So Tim Blight, Justin Bollenhagen, Ash Ledner, Russell Menz, Danny Murphy, Jared Rowe, massive in there, Sam Steed and Josh Warnock all in, and no outs at this stage. So Redmark, finally starting to get some of these players back, which is great. For Barmera Monash, the skipper Matt Layson will be back in this week, which is a huge boost for them. Brad Rosenzweig and Jake Smith are 70-30 chance according to the Dingo. So, and only out at this stage is Chad Hamilton. So we just get a tip for this one, boys.
Toss the coin. I'll go with Barmera Monash again.
Yeah, I would probably favour Ballymores just slightly because of the amount of time that some of those Renmark guys have had out, but certainly Renmark will be dangerous in a couple of weeks if all of those guys stay together.
Definitely. And I'm going to go on Ballymores just, but like you say, I think in Renmark, if they can keep them on the park, then they might be back in business. So we'll just run through the independent games now, Mitch.
Okay, big game. We've got Brownswell, top of the ladder versus struggling Marook. In for Brownswell, James Fegert, Paul Kinnaird, who I don't know much about, and Mark McConnell, no outs at this stage. And Marook, we've got Matt Morrell in, and there's still a couple missing there for Marook. I'm going to tip Brownswell in this one.
Yeah, Brownswell pretty comfortably for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking I haven't paid too much attention, but Brownswell certainly have been on fire, and they look like they've got a pretty solid squad throughout, so I'd go for Brownswell.
Yeah, for sure. Next game is Lirrup versus Wonka down in Lirrup. Not sure of the ins and outs for Lirrup this week, but we do know that they're very close to getting to full strength, and they didn't cop any injuries on the weekend, which is a bonus. Ins for Wonka though, they're also just about at full strength. Sean Gray back in, Cody and Reece Heinrich, and Brenton Reid and Rod Tonkin all come back in for Wonka. So they're gradually building. It's just going to take them a little while, I think, Wonka. But having watched Lirrup firsthand, if their Aboriginal guys can get going like they did against us on the weekend, they're going to be hard to stop this year, I think. So Lirrup for me.
Lirrup for me. You almost got Tyson Lindsay over the line. Loxton.
Yeah, we had a bit of a go there, but it didn't quite come off. But he certainly would have been beneficial, I think, to him personally to play a little bit higher level and improve his footing, and certainly give him more chance to have a go on the Crows list. But yeah, I think probably Lirrup are going to be a bit too strong for Wonka at this stage.
I think actually Tyson might be having a crack with the Crows this week, so that might be an out for Lirrup, we're not sure. And the last game, Mitch?
Okay, is Cobby versus Paringa. Both teams had massive losses last week, so they'll both be keen to get back on the board this week and even just score a few goals. Cobby, we've got in Jason Goodfellow, Matt Thomas and Tristan Yates, and out John Hunter and John Noy. And Paringa, we've got ins as Jason Griggs, James McGrath, Mick Miller, Travis Robotham and Joel Watson. And outs, we've got Michael Arnott, Brody Dillon, Tom Fran and Shannon Hissey. And I'm going to go with Paringa in this one.
Fish?
I'll have to pick Paringa only because Nick's here, but no, I think, and the inclusion of that Joel Watson, he's a superstar. I think he's related to me, so I better say that.
Yeah, you better look after him. Okay, that's it for us. Just lastly to finish off, we're going to introduce our new segment, which is called Fast Five. Basically, we're going to just be firing some quick fire questions at Fish, and he's going to answer them to the best of his ability. So enjoy that, and we'll see you all next week on the Game Plan Online.
Thanks. Fish.
We'd have to say Raph Little there. He seems to chat a few up, and I think he's got a regular one at the moment, so I better be careful. That would probably be Mark Teal. He's never organised. He's organised most of the time. So it'd probably be Teal's because he's got too many things on at the moment, too many children and family things. Usually most of the young fellas, but probably Shay Lange or someone like that would be one to skip and get in there ready for something to eat or something to drink.
Yeah.
Probably Big Rhino Nichols thinks his body's alright, and he still needs to tone up a bit in a few areas, so we'll give Rhino the message there. Probably Lee Kruger, he has a few different things that he gets done. He's usually the last to get changed and sits around and watches the B grade for a while, and when most of the others are getting excited. So yeah, here's an interesting pre-game ritual.
Ride on the peace train.